I think it's fitting that I wear this hat today. This video and this YouTube channel are a proud supporter of #KeepTheSheep. I'll leave some links to their website down below, and we'll have a little message about them at the end of the video. Hi everyone, my name is Noah and welcome back to TJM Farming here on YouTube. And well, you join us on a somewhat cloudy day and a bit windy in mid-February, and well, I'm wearing the Keep the Sheep hat. It's time to go see some sheep. Let's get started. Righto, so the plan is from here, we've done one mob of sheep for shearing, summer shearing this year. We don't usually shear this time of year. Normally we do 6 monthly shearing, so once in about March, April time and once in September, but because we're going to be putting that crop in Clark Road paddock this year, and we need to, and we've sourced a combine and need to get that prepared and stuff. The time that it will take preparing the cropping gear, and also on top of that, Dad's work at Badgie, means that we basically need to get all of our sheep shorn in February, basically. Get it all knocked out, all done and dusted, so they're all even length. So next time shearing comes, we'll get an equalised wool clip off the whole lot, hopefully. And what I mean by equalised cut is like equal wool staple length. So the longer ones, they were hovering around 88mm length to 90, which is like the longer wool type of thing. If it gets like really long, like over 100mm length, give or take, then it may give heavier weight, but it's not exactly good for pressing into bales and sending it off, because it would be too heavy to go to the wool auctions. So making sure that all the sheep have a standardized weight and a standardized wool staple length means that basically, well, yeah, we can make sure they're all equal. Right, so it's a bit windy this afternoon, as the microphone no doubt is hearing. I do apologise for that. I'll need to get a better microphone for the GoPro eventually. Ones are a little bit tight at the moment. But yeah, so far today, Dad and I have finished shearing the last bits of ewes in the wool mob with the frame rams, and then the frame rams have now been pulled out. We've just got 8 left to pull out, and then all 13 are back in the ram paddock. But this next mob we're getting in, we're brought over from our northwest paddock slash black shed floor slash whatever you want to call it. That doesn't exactly like the black shed floor name, but I called it that anyway, so that's what it's become. We're going to get those using rams. We'll be driving them through middle paddock, avoiding the weaners. Then we're putting them through boggy ute paddock into this paddock over here, in bull paddock or home paddock or whichever. And then afterwards, we'll be taking the ewes in here back out to the... Here's all the Shawnees. They're going back to Racetrack East, which is dead ahead, and eventually these will either stay in Racetrack East or go to Clark Road to eat it out before we go to work it up to put the crop in. Steer towards the wind so that we might be able to hear better. go the sheep into racetrack East Paddock. On the latest video that's come out at the time recording this, I've got a commenter who asks, what bloodline are they? When referring to the rams. Well, that's a very good question. Our Erinvale sheep are Merinos, obviously that's their breed, but the bloodline actually refers to what sheep stud the rams that we buy actually come from. Our Merinos were originally bred from my grandfather's bloodline. That was way back in the 50s and 60s and 70s. And more recently, when Dad started sheep farming, and like in the past 20 or so years, we've been going to Hilberdoo, which is up in Free Springs, mostly due to Dad's motorbike accident, and Chilara, which is where our current main sheep stud is now. He always started going to Chilara to get the rams, but after the accident we went to Hilberdoo because it was closer. Unfortunately, the Hilberdoo ones have one fatal trait, and that is they kick. I don't show the shearing shed in action very much in videos. The last time I did that was back in September. I thought about recording the shearing of the last 20 in that mob back there this morning, but the reason why I didn't do that is because, well, I need to concentrate. I said that I was going to focus more on being active in farming this year, which means less time mucking around talking to a GoPro and more time actually focusing on the task at hand. A part of that task at hand is, well, when the sheep kick or down to bits, well, obviously I need to be right there, ready to get my hands on if need be, to turn the handpiece off and help drag the sheep where necessary. That's the one thing that turned people off Merinos. While they're good for wool production and meat, that's what MPM stands for, multi-purpose Merinos. Their fatal flaw, especially with the big Merinos, is, well, they've got a gene where they are just wild. And when they're wild, that means their behaviour out in the paddock, which determines their cheekiness and whether they do or do not want to behave, and whether or not they kick the shearer, the poor bugger who has to shear them in the shearing shed. And, well, the cheekiness factor, you only need to look in the past year's worth of videos on the channel to see that our sheep are quite the cheeky bunch of bastards. And that's being brutally honest. Unfortunately, because of that kicking gene, it makes it a bit difficult for us to shear sheep. That's the truth right there. And yeah, so, well, it's kicking and also the additional amount of work in shearing sheep that drove many people in the sheep industry, especially over east as of recent. It's the behavioural factors and where the wool market looks to be going that has driven people out of sheep, particularly Merinos. That's the reason why you see other farming YouTubers over in Victoria like Tara, that has a hand, and the economic circumstances as well. That all those different factors, as well as a bunch of different ones that I have not mentioned here, that's the reason why so many different people have swapped from multi-purpose Merinos that require shearing to meat sheep that don't require as much work. So yeah, the rams, we currently have all 13 of them. They're all Chilara born rams. We used to have a couple of Hilberdoo ones back in 2022, 2023, but those all that is because 90% of our machinery fleet have got stuck in here at least once. The Kubota got stuck here, the Red Bull got stuck here, the Land Cruiser got stuck here, the Terios got stuck here, and Big Blue got stuck here. Yeah. Even though Big Blue's been sold and will be leaving the farm at the end of this week, stay tuned for that. It's going to be a sad day. Yeah, 90% of our machinery got stuck here. And another factor to consider when it comes to boggy utes is, well, it's white sand that it's possible to grow something. You just need a lot of rain and give the ground a lot of TLC, which requires something like a delver to dig up the clay that's underneath the sand. Having a delver here is something that's a bit out of our price range at the moment. However, if the crop this year does well, we might consider expanding upon it a little bit and diversifying the operation. We can't do that at the moment because, well, we need to make sure that it grows here first. If we can't grow a crop, then we're back to square one again. Right, so it's a couple of days later and we're in the shearing shed right now. And there's no sheep in here, but yeah, you can see that the shed's a bit of a mess right now. But the reason why I'm in here, long-time subscribers of the channel know that TJM Farming was started off the back of a video game. You may have heard of it, Farming Simulator. I started off back with Farming Simulator 17. Now, as the games have progressed, and currently FS25 is the current being worked on FS version, there's a glaring flaw with one particular mechanic of Farming Simulator, and that happens to do with the animal system, and particularly sheep and wool bales. Now, as you can see behind me, we've got 9 wool bales here, all varying in kilos, ranging from roughly around 140 to 185 kilos. Most of these are TJM, those are mainline merino wool for the Australian standard. And we're going to show you what exactly it takes to brand these and contrast that to Farming Simulator. Now, you can see in the AWN wool book, this is what we're basically told to do when it comes to branding our wool bales. You can see the farm brand, the quality registration scheme here, if applicable, the wool class stencil. So ours, you can see on some of the bales later, we can go take a look. TJM, that's the wool/bale description, and the destination if it's going off to export after it's auctioned off, and the bale number. And this is what it looks like at the top of the bales. And we'll just go take a look in a minute. Now, in the 2024 selling season / 2025 selling season, they've changed the rules a bit with the minimum weight of the bales. Currently, at the time of recording, the minimum weight for wool bales in Australia is 120 kilos. And the absolute maximum is 204 kilos. The reason why we don't go over that is because if it goes over 204 kilos, well, they're pretty heavy to move as is by ourselves. That's the reason why we have gadgets like that bale hook over there to shift these bales around. You may have seen it in a couple of other videos that I've done in the past, but you can see the general idea. So this one right here, we've got the farm name, so Erinvale 3am, that's the wool description, bale number 26, and that's the classing number. Same right down there. Erinvale, the wool classing number 3am, that's the bale description, number 23. Why do we have to do all this? Well, the classing stencil in particular is particularly important because usually When we take these bales to our wool buyer Rob, he takes them on off to auction, and oftentimes, particularly in the system we've got in Western Australia, usually they get auctioned off to overseas buyers, and then they go off to all the export markets, so say China, UK, Europe, places like that, where from there they've taken to factories and spun it into wool to make clothes, etc. Contrast this to the bales in Farming Simulator 22. I'll throw some footage up on the screen right now. You can see that the bales in Farming Simulator 22 that I'm using as an example, I can't run FS25 on my laptop. Long story short, yeah, I can't. Yeah, you can see that on the bale pallets in Farming Simulator 22, the wool bales are stacked in 4s, and if my calculations are correct, the pallets of wool, which equal 1,000 litres in the game, usually sit around 520 kilos to 550 kilos. I'm going to use 520 kilos for just a general example. Now, it's also important to mention that all of these wool bales here, they're all varying in terms of weight. So some of them weigh slightly lighter, so around 145 or 165 kilos, just to make sure that we can swap the wool type in the press, which we've got right here. So this is the slightly longer wools that we've got from our frame mob, that they're going back out the paddock as we speak. We'll get to that in a minute. The weight determines how much money we get from the wool. So say, for example, a bale that weighs 180 kilos. In good market conditions, we could see as much as 1,500 kilos. That would be roughly around 1,000 cents a kilo. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'll just put how much it would exactly be on the screen now. So if the pallets of wool on the pallet in Farming Simulator equal to 1,000 litres, and the total weight of the bales on the pallet in Farming Simulator is 520 kilos, we divide that by 4, we get 130 kilos. Now, how do we tell how many kilos are in a wool bale? Well, once upon a time, we used to use really old scales like this one over here that's currently in storage next to the extremely long wool that we got from a sheep that came from our neighbour's place. What we actually use in the modern day, well, we've got 3 examples of wool presses in our shearing shed. This right here is a TPW. This is a modern example of what many shearing sheds across Australia use as a wool press. This is the modern day one, which is powered by an extension cord you can see up there. It's powered by electricity, so basically all the electricity that runs the lights and the shearing stands and stuff in the shearing shed also powers this. You've got the green button to turn it on, you've got the red button to press stop. You chuck the fleece in here like so, and when the wool is touching the top, so up against this bar here for the press parts, you pull the lever here and it makes a noise and a bunch of clanking noises. It releases the spikes at the bottom here that holds the wool in place. The press pushes it down and the scales on the side tell you how much is actually in the press at the moment. So right now it's 69 kilos. This is the modern day example. How did the old timers back in the day used to do it? Example number 1. This is a version 1 of what a wool press used to look like. How they used to do it is you'd have someone climb in the top and basically squash the wool down with their feet. And then when it was pressed down enough, they put some more in, put some more in, put some more in, until it was nice and compacted. The trouble with this, they're hard to get in and out of. And, well, you'd need someone pretty heavy to do it. And, well, yeah, you can see the trouble right here plain as day. Over here, a second example of a wool press. This one is the grandpa to that one over there. This one actually came with the shearing shed and the farm as well. The old owners left this behind here. And you can see it's slightly more evolved from the version 1 over there. This one's got spikes and it's also got a press, but it's all hand driven. And the reason why we don't use this a lot is because it's a right pain in the backside to use, because put this in the wrong way or in the wrong manner, suddenly the press gets caught, the rope snaps, and well, yeah, it's quite dangerous. So by the 1990s and the 2000s, you get modern examples like this, which is what we use as our main wool press. Once upon a time, you can briefly see it as well in the footage of the old Nilmara 4-stand shearing shed. If you go back and look at the old Nelly Creek videos, you could see we had this one there as well as an old yellow one, which is this. But the point that I'm really driving home is the Bales and Farming Simulator. Let's just use this as an example here. Bale branding. They've got the farm name, but everything else they do not have. They don't have the bale head label, which is at the top of the bale that we've got to do right here. This is what we do with the markers in the top of the press when we seal the top of the press up and then press the bale and pull it out. It's got the farm brand, but the rest of this, which it requires, especially if the bales are going, say for example, into an export market, if the bales are going into an export market, they need to comply with industry standards. Australia is just an example of this. It could be slightly different in other countries in Europe and stuff like that, but the same details are still needed right here. Some people in the audience may be jumping up and down going, well, no, you don't have Merinos in Farming Simulator, do you? That is correct. We have not had Merinos in Farming Simulator since Seasons mod in FS19. Since then, well, Giants have clearly decided they like curly wool sheep and not proper, good for making clothes, wool production, multi-purpose sheep like the Merinos. We've got the Stan Chiefs, the Black Welsh ones, and the Landrets of Belting ones that I have no idea, I had no idea even existed before I played Farming Simulator 22. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. They used obscure European-based breeds that you would not find in the rest of the world. So, if the branding's wrong, and if all the bales are weighing 130 kilos, give or take, to get up to that 520 kilo mark, that, well, you'd be able to sell it to the spinneries on the farm sim maps, but if you were to put it on the train or something like that, in real life, what would happen if you don't have the correct branding? It can't go on the train, it can't be sold, you'd be stuck with it until you put the branding on. And that's why you don't see these wool bales leave unless they've got the branding done. Because if you don't have the branding, you can't sell the bales, the wool stays put and it doesn't go anywhere. So yeah, that's a brief history lesson on the basically the story of the wool presses and the wool bale system, how we class it all in Australia, and how Farming Simulator has got it wrong. And oh, you only need to be in the shearing shed in person for one day to know that sheep work is not as easy as it is in Farming Simulator. I wish it was. I really do. I really wish that the sheep could magically spawn wool bales on pallets for us, because it would make our life a lot easier, but that's just not how it's done. So yeah, basically that's what Giants have gotten wrong, and how could they improve it, I wonder? It starts with making shearing sheds like this, shearing plants like that, a wool press, a wool baler. Yeah, get TPW on the phone and I'm sure they'd be happy to have a crew come out and do a 3D model of one of those. It's a money maker, for starters, and I'm sure a lot of people would happily get behind it. Alright, that's my TED Talk style rant over. Let's get back to work. Righto! So we put the Shawnees into Clark Road now. Leave them there for a couple of weeks or so. they'll eat out all the feed that's in there, so that hopefully come autumn, when we get our opening rains for the year, we'll be able to go along with the scarifier or the plough that we use for bio brakes, and we'll go through there and tear that ground up, prepare it for seeding.